Hello children, how are you all? Hope you all are fine. So students, today our topic is tenses. Now tenses, what do you mean by tenses? Tenses denote the time of action. Now tense is equal to tempus. It is a Latin word that means time, and it can be divided into three parts, that is the present, past and future. Now if we look at this example given here, the various forms of tenses. First of all, the tense is divided into three parts: present, past and future, and then again categorized into simple present, present progressive, present perfect and present perfect continuous. Past, simple past, past progressive, past continuous, past perfect continuous. Then simple future, future continuous or progressive, future perfect continuous. Now, if we look at the tense, we saw that there are in all 12 forms of tenses. Now the simple tense. First we are going to go through the simple tense. A simple present tense is when the verb suggests that the action is taking place now or regularly, or states a general truth or fact. The verb is said to be simple present tense. The subject of the sentence must be in agreement with the form of the present tense of the verb used. So here, how we will frame or how we will understand the simple present tense. First of all, the form is subject plus verb in the present and then followed by the rest of the sentence. Subject, verb in the present and the rest of the sentence. Now look at these examples given here. First person. First person, as you all know, I. When we had learned pronoun, at that time personal pronoun, everything had been explained. So now first person, we are taking example where I is used. I speak Japanese. We speak Japanese. Singular form, plural form. You speak Japanese. Second person, you speak Japanese. Either it is singular or either it is plural. It will remain the same. Third person, he or she speaks Japanese. They speak Japanese. It speaks Japanese. They speak Japanese. They are talking about the doll, that is a non-living thing. Ajay speaks Japanese. The people speak Japanese. So here, first of all, the simple present tense states that whatever action is there, it is taking now, or it takes place, usually it takes place, or it is a general truth or a general fact. The habitual action, for example, I go for a walk every morning. Here I, the first person. And the universal truth, the sun rises in the east. And in this way, whenever any habitual action is there, we use such form of simple present tense. Now coming to the simple past tense. Now simple past tense, when the verb suggests that the action has taken place in the past or is past habit, the verb is said to be in the simple past. Now if you look here, I spoke Japanese, we spoke Japanese. I is a singular form, then we is a plural form. Then if you are speaking or when you are writing a statement in a second person form, you spoke Japanese, you spoke Japanese. In the simple present tense it was speak, then here it became spoke. And the third person, he or she spoke Japanese, they spoke Japanese. Here the verb speak has become spoke. So here it is what? Speak changes into the spoke. The form of the verb changes. Then coming to the simple future tense. Now if you see about the simple future tense, when the verb suggests that the action will happen in the future, the verb is said to be in the simple future tense. Now when we say that it is in the simple future tense, the simple future tense is formed by putting shall or will. It is being formed by putting shall or will. Shall is usually used only with the pronouns I or we to show the determined intention or an order with other pronoun or nouns. That means shall has to be used only with I or we. The examples, the first person example, I shall speak Japanese, we shall speak Japanese. You will speak Japanese, you will speak Japanese. Third person, he or she will speak Japanese, they will speak Japanese. So this is the simple future tense form. Here the verb speak will remain as it is, but preceded by shall or will. Shall will come when it is I or we. Now coming to the continuous progressive tense. Continuous progressive tense. This also here a present continuous tense. When the verb suggests that an action is still going on at the time of speaking, the verb is said to be in the present continuous form. Whenever in a sentence we have ing form, we have what? We have ing form. It is added at the end of the word speak and is preceded by am, is or are. Now what is the meaning of this? Ing, it is a verb form. Ing is used whenever it is in the continuous form or it is in the progressive form. If you look at the example, first person, I am speaking Japanese, we are speaking Japanese. Then second person, you are speaking Japanese, plural form also it will remain as it is, you are speaking Japanese. Third person, he or she is speaking Japanese, they are speaking Japanese. Now coming to the past continuous tense. Here, in all the three forms of tenses, either whether it is the present continuous, past continuous or future continuous, the verb will be always in the ing form. Continuous or progressive, it will be always in the ing form. Now what the definition says here, when the verb suggests that an action was going on at some point of time in the past, the verb is said to be in the past continuous tense. Here am, is and are replaced by was or and where the word speaking remains the same. Because it is the past tense, so the verb will change accordingly. It will become was or were. In the present it was, am, is, are, and here it will be replaced by was and were. Now taking into consideration the example, I was speaking Japanese, we were speaking Japanese. Past tense, singular was, plural were. Yes, students, singular was, plural were. Now second person, you were speaking Japanese. You were speaking Japanese, because here you will be always with word, that is word is used in the second person, in the singular form also, and even in the plural form also. He or she is speaking Japanese. They were speaking Japanese. Now coming to the future continuous tense. Now when the verb suggests that an action will be continuing at some given point of time, in future the verb is said to be in the future continuous tense. Now, as explained earlier, in the present continuous tense, we will be having am, is or are according to the singular or the plural form, where the ing will be added to the verb. In the past tense, am, is or are is replaced by the word was or were according to the was singular form and the word will be plural form. So here also the was and were will be replaced by shall be and will be, and the word speaking will remain same, that is verb, by adding it ing form. Now first person, I shall be speaking Japanese, singular, we shall be speaking Japanese. Second person form, you will be speaking Japanese, you will be speaking Japanese. Whether it is singular or plural, it will remain same as it is. The third person, he or she will be speaking Japanese, they will be speaking Japanese. So here, instead of was or were in the past form, will be here will or shall. Now coming to the third form, that is the perfect tense. Now what do you mean by perfect tense? Students, when the verb suggests that an action has begun in the past and has just got over at the time of speaking, the verb is said to be in present perfect tense form. That means what? Action had begun in the past and just got over at the time of speaking. Still we are speaking. In the present perfect tense, our singular form has is used with the subject such as he, she, it, or singular nouns. The plural form will have and is used with I or you in the plural noun. Now how is the structure here? Has or have plus the past participle of en or nd, ed form of the finite main verb. Now example here, I have spoken Japanese, we have spoken Japanese. Second person will be always you, you have spoken Japanese, you have spoken Japanese. Third person, he or she has spoken Japanese, they have spoken Japanese. So here in the all the perfect tenses form, we will use what? In the present tense, we will use has or have. Now coming to the past perfect tense, when the verb suggests that action that has been completed before a particular moment in the past, the word is said to be in the past perfect tense. Now how is the structure of the verb phrase? Had plus past participle en or ed form of the finite verb or the main verb. That means what? Here have and has been replaced by the word had. So the example will be here. What will be the example? The example will be I had spoken Japanese. We had spoken Japanese. Second person, you had spoken Japanese. You had spoken Japanese. Third person, she had spoken Japanese. They had spoken Japanese. And the future tense, when the verb suggests that an action will be completed at some point of time in the future, is said to be in the future tense form. Here, had is replaced with shall or will, will have the word spoken, that is the past participle remains the same. However, some point of time is to be mentioned in the sentence. Now, what do you mean by some point of time has to be mentioned? Now, here we have to keep in mind that whenever we are dealing or whenever we are speaking in the perfect tense form, present will have or has followed by the past participle, and in the past perfect tense had plus plus past participle, and the future we will have what? We'll have will or shall have followed by the past participle form. For example, here spoke will become spoken. So, I shall have spoken Japanese by the shall have been spoken Japanese by the end of the month. We shall have spoken Japanese by the end of the month. You will have spoken Japanese by next year. You will have spoken Japanese by the end of the month. Now coming to the perfect continuous tense. Now perfect continuous tense, when the verb suggests that an action began in the past and still continuing, the verb is said to be in the present perfect continuous tense. Now structure of the verb phrase, how it will be? It will be has, have, been plus the present participle, that is the ing form or the finite form of the verb. Here the word spoken is replaced with speaking. Now we'll understand this with the example in a better way. Now first person, I have been speaking Japanese for years. We have been speaking Japanese for years. You have been speaking Japanese for years. You have been speaking Japanese for years. She or he has been speaking Japanese for a year. They have been speaking Japanese for a year. Now the past perfect continuous tense, when the verb suggests that an action or an event began in the past and is continued to a certain point of time in the past, the verb is said to be in the past perfect continuous tense. Here, have been and has been are replaced by had been. So, had followed by the ing form of the verb. I had been speaking Japanese for a year. We had been speaking Japanese for years. You had been speaking Japanese for a year. You had been speaking Japanese for a year in the plural form. He or she had been speaking Japanese for a year. They had been speaking Japanese for years. Now coming to the future perfect continuous tense, when the verb suggests that an action was in the progress over a period of time and will end sometime in future, the verb is said to be in the present perfect continuous tense. Here had been is replaced by will have been or shall have been, that is ing form. Now taking into consideration the example, the singular form, I shall have been speaking Japanese after 5 days. We shall have been speaking Japanese after 5 days. You will have been speaking Japanese after 5 days. Again, in the plural form, it will come in the same form. And then third person, he or she will have been speaking Japanese after 5 days. They will have been speaking Japanese after 5 days. So, what do we understand from here is that in the perfect continuous tense, in the present perfect continuous tense, we'll have what? Have or has plus been plus present participle form. And in the past, we will have what? Had plus been plus the ing form. and in the future shall have been plus ing form of the verb. Now the assignment time. Students, you have to complete this assignment. What is this now? You have to fill in the blanks with the correct form of tense of the verb as indicated in the brackets. The first one is done for you. By chance, Dick had fallen. Now, Dick dash fall in front of the house of a rich merchant. Past perfect tense. So, past perfect tense will have what? Had plus followed by the en form. So, fall will become fallen. So, similarly, you have to solve this assignment. Hope you all have understood the topic very well. Thank you, children. God bless you all.